Kia ora, and welcome to Conversations from the Pink Chair. I'm your host, CJ Dafoe, founder of Mums4Mums Charitable Trust, and an unapologetic maternal feminist. Here we talk motherhood, meaning, and the muscle it takes to raise a family and a nation. This is a seat where women's voices matter. Mothering is not invisible, and being maternal, well, it's political. So pull up a chair. We've got stories to tell, myths to bust, and dignity to reclaim. Kia ora, lovely people, and welcome to Conversations from the Pink Chair. I'm your host, CJ Dafoe, founder and the engine behind Mums4Mums Charitable Trust. Fierce advocate for mothers and occasionally tea spiller from the pink chair in my living room, where we will discuss all issues surrounding womanhood, motherhood, and the power of language. We have a diverse set of guests joining us in the future on a wide variety of topics. And I hope during this podcast time that we'll be able to laugh, cry, cheer, and be informed and encouraged with and by us. I thought for our first two interviews, we would give some background historical context to Mums4Mums for both myself and our first mom that started it all. Sukhwant, the mother of twins, who was the reason we started Mums4Mums. And before I ask others to speak about their stories of motherhood, I thought it would be a good idea to start with ours. Open it up and hopefully it will provide some context into what motivates us and provide the further details. There's a lot of laughter and perhaps some inspiration. And just a keynote here, Sukhwant and I come from different cultures and faiths, and yet our bond is one that's really incredible. And the thing that ties us together the most is motherhood. And today I'm going to tell my story as I've been itching to get it out. And it's an important prequel to how Mums4Mums got started. It's the story of how I became a mom, as it would make sense that the founder of Mums4Mums is a mother herself. But I didn't become a mom through the traditional pathway. And to get us started, let me introduce you to Sukhwant Malhi. She started off as our first mom, and she's now the Deputy CEO at Mums4Mums. And in the next interview, you'll get to know her a bit more and her story. She is to become the podcast host, going to become the interviewee. We're going to change seats tonight.
Thank you, CJ. Yes, I'm delighted to be a part of first two interview for a conversation from the pink chair. And I think it's relevant. We get our story out there in the public so people will have no greater understanding of how Mums4Mums started.
Yeah, I agree.
Gosh, where do we start? And I think why don't you start off with some of the personal struggle you had in becoming a mom?
Yeah, that's a big story, and I'm trying to unpack it just to not make it too long. But yeah, and I'm not going to go into childhood stuff because that's a discussion for another day. But to say that my mom is originally from New Zealand, so I'm third generation Kiwi. My dad's side, I'm Canadian. I was born and raised in Canada and returned to New Zealand, myself and my son, when he was about 4 years old. At the time of this recording, he's now 13 years of age. I always like it when I'm writing out applications for funding. And they always ask you, well, when did your organization start? And well, I always write down the correct year, of course, but in my head, I always think 2011. And you're going to say, well, well, that's the year I decided that after 15 years of finding excuses of not attending my friends' baby showers, 3 miscarriages, and a divorce, and feeling like a real failure as a woman, a wife, because I couldn't hold on to those pregnancies and hold those babies. Oh, my family, like you just so desire to do when you're a couple. I decided to seek medical help and to have a baby as a single woman. Now, let me just preface this. I'm not endorsing my story for other people. So don't think that I'm giving you permission to go out and do what I did as well. It's worked for CJ. I'm just letting you know, right, wrong, or whatever. This is my story. So I made an appointment to go see an IVF specialist. And at this time, it was probably, I was probably about 47 at the time. And I went for all the tests and the blood work and the exams. And it's quite revealing when you go through all of that. You don't have much modesty afterwards. To sit in his office as he's telling me the whole outcome of all of his tests and investigations, to find out that, yes, okay, your womb is fine. You can carry a baby, not a problem. And we understand historically now why you had all your miscarriages. That's because by the week, anywhere between week 11 and 13, I wouldn't be able to maintain my progesterone levels. And so with that, then I would just have those natural miscarriages that happened. That was really tough to go through because by then you're getting
Yeah.
hopeful that this is going to stick.
Yeah.
You're thinking and dreaming as women do when they find out they're pregnant. So I could help me with all of that and they could walk me through it. They could do all these things. But unfortunately, because of my age, 47, they gave me the news that my eggs just wouldn't be good enough anymore. They could only give me about a 32% chance of success. And this was 13 years ago. So, I mean, technology has changed now. So maybe
Yeah.
women who are older may have some more options than what I did 13 years ago. But back then, I was told that I'd only have a 32% chance of a successful pregnancy to term. But with that, then I may have extra complications because of my age. The child could have Down syndrome or some other developmental problems. Or, you know, I don't know. They called me this geriatric mother. And I almost had heart failure when he called me that because I know I was old at 47, but I never thought geriatric would be a way to, describe who I am. That
Yeah.
seems like you would leave geriatric for, someone in their 80s or something like that. But yeah, he referred to me as a geriatric mother. So that definitely wasn't the news that I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those who's listening us today, some like me who might know what is the geriatric mother, would you like to explain more?
Oh gosh, I shouldn't even say the word now, should I? Well, I'm sure there's lots of definitions, but the definition that I know it to be is any woman who's having a baby over the age of 35. As in the maternal space, that's actually considered to be quite old. And so I definitely at 47 was definitely well into that geriatric phase in my motherhood journey. And so yeah, anyways, I had to swallow that. That was a lot of pride going on there. So he told me, lucky for him, lucky for me actually, that in his office today was a lady up from Florida, and she had an organization where she provided egg donations to couples or women who wanted to have children but had challenges in achieving that on. And I actually thought I was quite well versed on things. I thought I was a, you know, well-rounded, educated woman on all this topic, done a lot of research on it, and felt actually quite ignorant and shallow because I had no idea that egg donation was even an option. I had already in my head figured out three guys I was going to sit down and have that awkward conversation with, saying, actually, can I borrow your sperm? I'd like to actually have a baby. But I never thought I'd have to go and actually talk to somebody to say, "Yes, I actually need some eggs as well." So that was pretty overwhelming for me at that time. He whisked me off his office, took me to the boardroom, and here was this lady sitting at the boardroom table with a laptop and papers and a cup of coffee, and sat me down in front of her, and she was all nice and everything. But I'm still numb. I'm still in the office thinking, "What's going on? Why am I here?" And she's now giving me this whole story and information of what a donation was all about. And I just kind of sat there smiling,
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me now?"
Yeah.
My goodness. So yeah, brain numb, all this information coming at me. And just thought to myself that this wasn't what I had expected this conversation to be. It's totally blindsided.
Yeah. That must be very hard to hear, CJ, that sitting in the room or your own, expecting a good news and, instead listening words cut off so deep. I can imagine how painful that moment must be have been.
Well, I put on a pretty brave face, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Pretty brave face. And
Yeah. So what
just
happened next?
yeah, I thanked her for all the information through the website, but in one ear out the other, it was too much to take in. Getting brochures and her business card and how to get in touch with her. So I took all that home and eventually, when I got home, I just kind of threw everything onto the floor and went into my room and had a really good cry. Felt really devastated with the news. Had felt robbed of the opportunity to have the children that I wanted to have. Just felt really less than and inadequate, and just really crying out to God about what would be the next step. I was confused. Just because you can do A, sure you actually do A. That was the battle that was I was having. So after having a really big cry in my bedroom, picked myself up, dried myself up, straightened my hair, and grabbed my laptop and went into the living room and sat down with my laptop and went to the website and started going through it. And it just seemed really weird because in there, it's like a dating database. You've got all these profiles and pictures of women
Yes.
and their height, their weight, their ethnicity, their eye color.
Mm-mm.
They've had IVF before. Was it successful? Have they had children? Pictures of what their children look like. And so you're like, yeah, there's supermarket picking which one you want. And some of the ladies that I had chosen, they were already unavailable for some reason. Like they were already helping another family with an IV cycle, so you'd have to wait.
Mm.
So I thought, well, don't really want to wait much longer. So I started to look for ones that would be available, and I made my short list and just went through that whole process. And I just felt kind of really dead in my tracks. Just felt really convicted that yeah, just because this is something I can do, I don't really feel that this is what God wanted me to do. And so for me, this wasn't the right choice. And I just put my laptop away. Whew.
Have a
Bringing
breathe.
back a lot of
Yeah.
emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I just, had that really authentic time with God in my living room, a small living room, and just got laid down on the floor prostrate in front of him, just crying out to him and saying, like, either give me up, like, God, just pony up and
Yeah.
give me this baby. I've got such a strong maternal instinct. I want this baby. I want to be a mom, or take the pain away because I hadn't gone to a baby shower of my friends for more than 15 years. I just couldn't face it. I never congratulated them on their pregnancies or their baby's birth. They always must have thought that was weird. I was busy when things were going on. I never went. But it was just such an emotional, hard thing for me to do. And so now I'm having this really authentic conversation with God and just saying, like, either fix me or give me my baby because I don't want to stay like this. This was just torture. And I wasn't being my best version of myself. And when you're carrying that much pain and that much shame, it just paralyzes you. Like there's nothing you can do. So yeah, that was a really emotionally charged event.
My heart really goes out for to you, CJ. It's one thing that I hear difficult news when you're surrounded by your support, but to go home alone and restless, which is such heavy emotions that makes so much courage to even talk about now. So I think every strong woman listening will recognize that you said you even strongest of us whose moment where you break down, and that doesn't make us weak. It makes us human, right?
Yeah, that's true. They always think, strong women, strong Wahinis don't cry, but,
Yeah, yeah,
we do. And we have our moments, and we all have those places in our life that just we have our vulnerabilities still.
yeah, yeah,
So we may just not let everybody see them all at that
yeah.
one time, but we have them. Yeah, so that was just a very real and raw event. I just eventually pulled myself up on the couch and just slept on my couch with a blanket over me. Didn't even get to bed that night, and then woke up the next day and just really just said, no, I'm not going to do the IVF. I'm not going to do the egg donation. That's not the thing. And just really trusting and leaning on God to come through. And I had no idea how that was going to look because I looked at all my other options and there just didn't seem to be any. I mean, in Canada, if you were to go and try to just adopt a baby on your own, I think for most couples, like couples together, married in a stable relationship, jobs and all of that, for a newborn baby, it can be a 10-year wait.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
for a single woman, I mean, it almost seemed impossible for that to happen.
yes.
But fast forward a few months, and a really weird situation happened. I got an email from somebody asking me if I was the daughter of so and so, and I had to respond back to that. And she came back and she told me that my mother had passed away. And that's a podcast for another day. But my mom and I hadn't spoken in quite some time, and so that was quite a shocker. So eventually, I made my way to Victoria to do the eulogy at her funeral, clean up her apartment, sort her stuff, and go through that whole grieving process. And eventually headed back to where I was living in Ontario because my mom was in BC. So that's like going from Auckland to Christchurch, kind of a flight for people, just to give them an idea. So came back to that, took a couple of days off to get myself sorted, and then headed back to work. And the lady that I worked with, Allison, she had become a really good friend of mine, and she had taken on a kinship care of her niece. And I came back into the office, and just hello, how you doing, blah blah blah, catching up on stuff, and kind of get through all those niceties and everything. And she said to me, she says, "CJ, I have a baby for you." And I'm like, "What? Like who says that?" I said, "No, that don't play with me on that. Don't joke with me. That would be just too hurtful." She says, "No, I have a baby for you." Okay, so tell me more. She says, "Well, her kinship daughter, their
Hmm.
her bio mom,
Yeah.
is pregnant again, and they need a home for the baby." And the bio mom had originally asked Allison to take the baby, but she said her hands were full. She had enough on her plate, but she knew who could, and so she talked to the bio mom about me. And so, kind of fast forward through the story a little bit, calls and emails and meetings and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it was kind of green light that now this baby that she was carrying, I was going to adopt this baby. And so it was just like unbelievable. Like,
It's
okay, Lord,
unbelievable. Yeah,
you
that's what
go.
I'm just hearing. I just freeze. And I said, oh, wow, that's
Yeah,
unbelievable news for
yeah,
you.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
So you get overjoyed and you're going
Yeah.
through the process, and the adoption agency did everything that they could, but
Yeah.
until they actually had the baby there, they actually didn't have a client to work with. So they got forms filled out, they got permissions and all of that sort of stuff done as much as they could, and then they had to put everything pause until we got the phone call that this baby was born. So my son's bio mom it was really hard to stay in touch with her. It was on again, off again. Eventually, though, in 2012, May 2012, on Mother's Day, Allison called me and said, "The baby's been born." And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Wow. And the first thing in my mind was like, oh gosh, I got to go see him.
Yes.
But then the next thing out of her mind is, we won't be able to go see him. And I'm like,
Oh,
why? What happened?
my God.
Well, we had done all of this paperwork ahead of time, and she had disclosed that this gentleman was the father of the baby. And so he had given his permission for the baby to be born, to be adopted. But when the baby was born, she put the name of another man down on the birth certificate. And so everything had to come to a screeching halt, and they had to go and check with that other family, the father, his siblings, the extended family, to see
Yeah.
if anybody else wanted to adopt the baby. And until they went through all of that process, I was kept in the dark. So for 6 months, there was no updates. There was nothing going on. There was a complete silence. And
Oh,
I'll be really transparent. I already had the room ready. I had his crib, as they say in New Zealand, his cot set up. It was already
oh,
decorated, walking chair. I had everything ready for this baby.
yeah.
So now I'm sitting in this house by myself and walking into his room and sitting in his chair and thinking about him and dreaming of him. But I have no information about him, what's going on, how, how big he was. None of the details were shared with me because now unrelated person, I'm not involved in this. So it's just,
Yeah.
again, that
Yeah.
constant, wow, so close and yet so far. It was really tough.
Yeah, I think I can feel myself getting emotional just hearing this. I can only like imagine how painful those moments must have been for you. Having a room ready, like, when you're expecting a baby, right? So having a room ready, your heart ready, and yet not knowing if the little baby would be come like over to you. It's just how strong mother's love can be. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it was really a hard time, a really dark time, but it was a time for me to, being a woman of faith, I really had to lean on God and just trust in His timing. And it was a battle. Every day I had to check my thinking because I would get into this negative thinking, and I just have to reclaim promises and just really rely on, trust God's journey in this and what is going to happen because
yeah.
everything was out of my control. And I think that's the tough thing, isn't it? When we're women, we're having a pregnancy, we've had a miscarriage, or if you're going through an adoption, there is such a time in your life where you're not in control. There there's absolutely nothing you can do. You're completely
Yeah.
at the whim of other people, and it's the
Yes.
most helpless time in your life that you feel.
Yeah, where that you can feel there's nothing in your hand, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. There's this
yeah.
this isn't, where I can just go in and edit a document and change an outcome. This is being written live, and there isn't anything that I can do about it except remain faithful, remain patient, and
Yes.
put lots of prayer into it.
Yes.
And so that's what I had to do. I had to make sure that no matter what was going on around me, I wanted to make sure that at least I was in God's will for what was happening in my life. That's really tough to say because your heart's saying one thing, but there's that level where you just know you need to be
Yeah,
obedient. If this is who you are, then you need to be obedient to what that is. And being a woman of faith, then that means just really relying on God's planning, His timing, and His will for my life.
that's true.
And so that's what I had to do. But I'm going to be honest, that doesn't necessarily make it easy every day. And sometimes, several times a day, you have to recommit to that because your brain does play with you.
Yes, that's true. So what happened next that when they call you, like what is the process happen? Did like anything happen? Did you get a call from them or how the communication happened? Like I know your heart
Yeah.
goes down and
Well, I
everything.
mean, you've met
I'm
my
just
son, so you
excited
know
to
everything
know.
worked out okay. But yeah, for 6 months, I had no idea what was going on.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and then finally, the phone call came. So he was born in May. So this was June, July, August. Yeah, it was end of September, beginning of October.
Mm-hmm.
And the social worker called me, Jay, and he said, CJ, we've talked to everybody and everybody has declined taking the baby. So if you still want the baby, you can adopt him. But you have to go through, like, foster parents and adoptive parents have to go through this program, and you have to get through your home study and your police vetting and your whole background check. So you have to get at least 50% through all of that before we can let you see the baby. So it was like, okay, please, can we just fast track this? Because, he's almost 6 months now, and I really want to be able to see him. So they did. And I got into a course right away. There was something starting. So within a week, I was doing that. And they came in and did all the checks of my house and background checks and interview questions and all kinds of stuff. And you really have to, gosh, it's even worse than a job interview having to do this. But that's okay. They got to do their due diligence.
Yes.
But it was just incredibly, incredibly hard. And you do feel, again, vulnerable because you're getting all these people into your background and they know every little dark and terrible secret of your family. You think,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I hope they don't hold that against me. That was 20 years ago, but lo and behold, after a while, we got to a place where it was time now for me to meet with this little guy.
Wow. That's what I wanted to hear from so long. I said, say this when you meet him finally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna start crying.
Yeah.
By this time it's November. Now I know November in New Zealand is quite lovely, but November in Canada, it's cold. There's snow, it's ice, it's terrible. So got in my car and drove to the agency's office, and they took me into this. waiting family visitation room. And I seemed to be sitting in there forever. We only about 10 minutes. Then there was this door opening, and inside was this person came in with this child in this little capsule seat, all bundled up. You could hardly even see him except for this little face because it was so cold out. Him in snowsuits, and you call them a beanie here in New Zealand. We call them toques in Canada. And
Yes.
just placed him on the floor in front of me, and they smiled and then stepped out of the room. And here I am now in this room looking at this beautiful little baby for the very first time. And they're looking through the window, they're making sure everything is okay. And I just get down on the floor in front of him. He's like a little Christmas present, really,
Yes.
press
Yes.
down, start taking off his hat and unzipping him, taking him out because, I want to count every toe and every finger and just smell him and hold him and just really get close, and
Yeah.
in doing all of this, I lay him on the floor in front of me while I get him undone, and I'm leaning into him and saying, "Hi, sweetheart. It's
Oh,
Mommy. It's so good to see you. I love you." And his face just lit up and he laughed and he was smiling. And I guess the driver and the social worker were looking through the window and they could see his
yeah.
reaction. And they were astonished because, they've developed a pretty good relationship with him over these 6 months. And this baby didn't like people.
Wow.
He only
That's
liked his foster mom. Everybody else he wouldn't give the time of day to, and he was just beaming, and I didn't know it at the time, but they looked at each other and they went, "Wow, okay,
yeah.
that's his mom."
That's we can say that maybe you and him definitely have a connection like before, like I feel like.
Yeah,
So
yeah, my girlfriend Diana, she has said to me ever since, she says, "That child may have not come from your womb," but she said, "CJ, that child was made just for you."
yeah.
And, yeah, I believe that.
It's like I'm already emotional now, but wow,
Yeah.
this must been a very powerful moment for you to finally meet your son face to face after all that waiting. It's almost like a birth story itself,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Emotionally.
Yeah.
Emotionally, yes.
Yeah,
Because
the
all that waiting.
anticipation,
Yeah.
the nerve, the joy, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So
Yes.
we hung out there and snuggled and talked and kissed
Yes.
and just for about an hour and a half. It wasn't long enough.
It's beautiful.
But I mean, they've got schedules themselves and they've got other families to support. And so I had to bundle them all up and put them back into that capsule, and the driver picked him up and off he went. I think I just stayed in that room just in tears,
Yes.
but they were happy tears, and I was just so grateful, and the, social worker was quite happy. He said, "Yeah, that visit went really, really well. Well done." And, so, yeah, I left, and he says, "I'll be in touch, to see how we can set up some more visits, with you and him." So, yeah, I had to go through the rest of the program, graduate, get my certificate, finish all the home visits and police checks, and then, during that time, they, let me have part-time. So, like, his foster mom would have him 3 or 4 days a week, and then I would have him 3 or 4 days a week, and it would just be this constant back and forth, and we had these 2 blankies. One was yellow, one was blue, and, I always made sure I slept with them in my bed, so it had kinda, like, my scent on it. So whenever he went back to his foster mom, he had the blankets to go with him, so they were
Hmm.
always with him, and, so he's constantly coming back and forth, back and forth. It's so hard.
Yes.
And it took so long to finalize, all of this paperwork and everything because they had
Yes.
a CEO change at the
Yeah.
agency, and it took her a really long time to catch up on all of the paperwork and what was going on. And I'm not like, "Gosh, can we just sign this off? Can you just do this? I just want to have him home."
Yes.
So it was probably another 6 months of him
Wow.
going back and forth, because it was just after his first birthday.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how it works here, in other countries or New Zealand, but in Canada, quite often what happens is, children don't have suitcases and they get shuffled around in rubbish bags, which is just a terrible way of doing it. So it
Yes.
sends the wrong message, doesn't it? And
Yes.
so you often can tell which children are in the care because they're moving their clothes around from home to home with rubbish bags. And it's just heart-wrenching. But his foster mom, she's a beautiful, lovely lady. She's a Jamaican nurse. She loved him like he was her own. And she said, CJ, I don't want them to come and take him from me. I want to come to your home and I want to gift him to you. That psychologically, there's a difference when they're
Yeah.
coming into the home and they're picking up his belongings and they're taking him away and then bringing him. And I went, yeah, I would want that too. That just seems right. So Marva made sure she went out and she got him luggage. She put all of his stuff in this really lovely luggage and his toys into a nice little plastic container. And she made up this big poster, kind of a collage of pictures of all of the memories that my son had while he was at their home.
Yes.
And so she brought him over with all his stuff, and the social worker came over, and we went through this whole process, signed final papers, and talked and made plans. And then there came this official time where she picked Stephen up in her arms, and she looked at him for the last time, kissed him,
Wow. It should be emotional for her too.
and she just handed him over to me as if she was gifting him. And it was the most beautiful experience ever. And she said to me, she says, CJ, he needs to bond to you. You now need to become his mom. So for the next 6 months, you can message me, you can call me, but I won't come and see him. He can't see me. He has to forget about me
Wow.
so that he can bond with you. And I knew that was going to be hard for her.
It was hard,
And
yeah.
I understood because you want children to attach to their parents properly. And so that's what was needed. So we went through those first 6 months I took time off work, for a bit, and then I had to go back to work, but we had some time together. And, yeah, it was extraordinary just being able to have this little person in my home finally. It was a real answer to prayer. Yeah.
It's so emotional. It's so emotional. And I just thinking about her foster care mom, isn't that? Yeah. Even
It's
it's very
Marva.
hard. Yeah.
She's still in our life. She tells us we're the only family of all the children that she's cared for as a foster parent have ever stayed in touch with her. So she loves this. She's been able to see Stephen grow from,
Yeah.
like a little baby to now he's 13, and she's just a part of that process in our lives, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. I think she need to know he's in a good hands. He has a mom now. This is really beautiful to know her.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Gosh, where do we go from there? Anyways, I mean, it wasn't an easy transition for us because what I didn't say is when Stephen was born, and this is what I didn't know until after I had the first visit with him. But because of his biological mother's lifestyle, Stephen was NAS. NAS is neonatal abstinence syndrome. So he was born addicted to methadone, cocaine, marijuana, and heroin. He was 6 weeks premature. And so, that shaken baby thing, that was him. And he had to go into the neonatal ward for about 6 or 8 weeks on morphine as they got these drugs out of his system. And Auntie Marva was in there every day holding him and skin to skin contact and thing. And she took really good care of him. So he had a really rough start as a baby.
Yeah. Can imagine.
But if you were to see him now, you
Yeah.
would know that he had that rough start. He's doing really, really well.
Yeah. I had a privilege to knowing Stephen for
Yeah.
almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say he's growing into an amazing young man.
Yes.
You have done such a beautiful rising beautiful job for rising him.
Yes.
The bond of two you share is so special, and anyone who sees you together can feel it. He is your biological son.
Yes, because, unless I tell you the story, you don't know I adopted him because people think we look alike, which I think is pretty cool.
Yes.
Before my hair went gray and I started coloring it different things, we had the same color auburn hair. So that was pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So and he does have some of my quirky personality. It is definitely an experiment between nature versus nurture. I'm always doing that scientific, is that me? Or is that some, his biological parents coming out? Because some of that I'm just like, where did that come from? But
Yeah.
yeah, he's really, really developing into his own person. So, I mean, that's the beauty of that part of my story. But there's still more to the story.
Thank you, CJ, for sharing such a powerful and deeply moving story. Hearing your journey, the pain, the faith, the miracle, and the love reminds us exactly why Mums for Mom exists and why
Yes,
it's continued to grow.
yes. But I'm going to tell a little bit more because there's even more to tell.
Yes, please.
Because, for me, here I am sitting in Canada
Yes,
and I'm praying for one baby. That's all I
yes,
wanted to be, was a mom to one baby.
yes,
And during this time, especially after my mom died, my dad had died 2 years later. So you kind of go through your bucket list, when your parents go, you start
yes,
to, at least most people, at least I think most of my friends who've gone through it now had that experience where you start to say, what's next? Like you really do realize that now you've moved up in the hierarchy of your family. And so like, what's next for us? And so I felt a real calling. I felt like a real pull to come back to New Zealand. And in Canada, I was a registered professional counselor. I worked in the areas of loss and grief and trauma counseling and also divorce recovery. And had my own HR firm. And so I was working in that. Just left it all and came to New Zealand. I was going to come back and get back to school and get into my nursing. I wanted to do missionary work and go out in the field with my son and travel when he got older and do all that cool stuff. So within a couple of years, I started getting things sorted. And I was telling my friends, I was saying, like, I'm going to head back to New Zealand. My family is from there. And I thought,
yes.
this wouldn't be this a great place to raise my son and retire and whatnot. And they were like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, sure. Well, I finally got the passports and our citizenships all sorted and everything because the year that my mom was born, the year as I was born, I was entitled to full citizenship. So I got that. He got his by descent. I looked through the real estate listings and I was able to find a house online with a real estate firm, signed the papers, wired in the money to deposit, and bought my plane tickets, packed up our stuff, sold stuff, gave stuff away, even hosted my own bon voyage party because my friends are all in denial. Like, who does this? Picks up and leaves solo mom with a kid to another country. And I thought, well, it's not like I'm going to some third world country. I'm going to New Zealand where, I'm a citizen. So if things go back, I've got a backup plan. And if that doesn't work, I've got another backup plan where I can just come back to Canada. So I felt pretty confident about that. And I had registered to go to school and do my nursing. So I had a lot of things all planned out. So
Yeah.
after the bon voyage party and them seeing that I had the tickets and everything, they were like, wow, this is really going to happen. I'm like, yep, this is happening. So everything got shipped, 12 boxes on a pallet, two suitcases each. And we start making our way to New Zealand, come down here, get settled. I go through 1 year of upgrading, 2 years of nursing, and then boom, we're into lockdown stuff around here. Things got crazy in this country for a while. Things got
Wow.
crazy everywhere, didn't it?
Yes. In all world. Yeah.
And so during that time, I thought, well, I'll be nice to do some volunteering. So I started volunteering for this organization, lovely organization. And while I was working with them, I got the phone call from the social worker at the Toronto hospital, and asking me to see if I could help with a mom with twins that
Oh,
was just on a work visa. And I said, well, it's really not the cop up of the agency that I'm with. They do all the fun stuff. What they're needing is more, um, going in and doing all the hardcore help and stuff. So, but I said, like, I'm a mama. I know what it's like to be in the deep end of the pool.
yes.
I said, so what can I do as just a, person within the community? And they went, oh, wow, that's amazing. Because when they had called me, it was kind of like the last ditched effort because they had called around to so many other organizations who everybody had said no.
Yes.
because the family was still on a work visa. They had applied for their residency and they were entitled to it. They didn't have it yet. And so they were still on a work visa. And so all these other agencies, they weren't set up to work with people on student or work visas.
Yes.
And so I got that phone call and went and met that family. And next time we talk, we'll be able to hear your side of the story. Because that mom was you.
Yeah, it was me. That's like, I know that's, we are on a work visa and we didn't entail any government support at that time. So it's been very hard. Like, the social worker always come to me and they were asking what I needed because, the lockdown and the family couldn't come. And the first time mom, twin boys, and have no idea like how to do it. And I only asked the social worker, I don't need any support, anything. We are okay at the moment, but I need if someone can come to my home and hold my baby with me, because while I can nourish one baby, and then if someone can hold my another baby, and that would be a great. But it was struggle for them. They always said, oh, we couldn't find anybody, so maybe they
Yeah.
will call you then
Yeah.
then you come to me. And I really want to share one thing here.
Yeah.
We had a twin boys. We was in a hospital for 5 weeks and like we lost and we never ever get our family.
That's right.
So when you come to home and we had our first family photo,
Yeah. We didn't know it
that
at
was
the
with,
time. We didn't know it at the time, but it dawned on us later that was your first family photo.
yes, yeah. It's a long story. Maybe I can
Yeah.
show I can share another time, but yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Next time we're gonna dive into your story.
Yes.
That's what started Mums4Mums was that phone call for you.
Yes.
It's all your
Yes.
fault. But they had heard back I don't know, through you or the social worker, the great job that we are doing. And they kept calling me. Yeah. There was another 2 moms that I had to go out and help with after you.
Yes.
And I said to them, I said, I like to plan things. I thought it was just gonna help one mom. Is this something that you're gonna need regular
Yeah.
help with?
Yeah.
And they said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, can we meet? Because I think you should meet me. I should meet you at least." And so we met at the coffee shop across from Toronto Hospital
Yes.
and had a coffee. And she brought 2 of her colleagues from the hospital as well. And just finishing up my second year of nursing, and I did not hear about maternal mental health, not once through that whole time studying. And they began to tell me about how we've got one of the worst outcomes for pregnant and post-birth moms in the OECD, 7 times worse than the UK. And it was like an elephant in the middle of the road, but nobody was wanting to talk about. And they were desperate to find somebody who could help moms as they get adjusted at home, like we were doing. And I didn't realize it was so groundbreaking, but I guess it was. So what we had done, in that period of time, we had helped those 3 moms, and we would just had those, what we call our Fab Fives. So
Yes.
we had Dan and myself out visiting the moms, and I can remember one time when I was driving to my second mom.
Okay.
Wow, this is incredible. Because, while I'm doing my nursing, I'm having this vision in my head,
Mm-hmm.
really thinking God was preparing me to be a district nurse because I could constantly see in my head like this vision of me driving my car and visiting women with babies and stuff like that. I could see this in my head clear as day, like a movie. And
Yes.
so I think this is, like that was the most interesting thing because during the this period of time we had just come out of our first lockdown, so that's why I was able to come see you and whatnot. We had that kind of reprieve and stuff like that. And during that time, I had injured my knee, and so I was having a really tough time walking around and I had to get a medical clearance to go back and to do my nursing, and I hadn't been able to do that. So I
Oh,
I couldn't continue on with my studies because I injured my knee. So I was feeling really down and depressed, thinking like, why give me this vision of, you know, going around helping women and doing all this stuff and whatnot. And so I'm driving in Papamoa to the second mom's house, and it's this like transfer paper where God was taking the vision that
yes,
I had repeatedly in my brain,
that's correct.
and he
Yeah.
was laying it over what was happening to me in the present, in the now. And I was just so overwhelmed with what I was experiencing. I had to pull over to the side of the road And I'm like, okay. So I had thought I was going to go off and do this thing with nursing, but your vision for me was this. This is what I'm doing. So I get it. So everything that I had done up until that time, all the jobs and all the work, all the training that I've done, everything has just been preparing me for this moment. I was blown away. So I had to catch myself and get myself together before I went and see that second mom. But when I was sitting in that cafeteria with those social workers and they were telling me about our maternal mental health crisis, I mean, I was blown away. I mean, for such a small country like New Zealand to be able to have that big of a problem is extraordinary. It's
It is.
really, and we keep sweeping it under the right and under the rug, and we keep saying this like this phrase that just drives me crazy now. You know it. I hate it when people say she'll be right. We can't keep saying that anymore. We can't say she'll be right. No, she might not be with us if we keep saying that. So
Yes.
anyways, I said to them, I said, well, okay, I can do this. I can put things together. I've got the skill set for that. Can you go back to your manager and get permission that if we put together, this group that we can get your permission to work with you and stuff, like whatever it is that you need to get the green light for, can you just go do that? And I said, well, I'm not going to start a charity right now. That's just too much work, but I'll find a charity to take us under their wings. And so 2, 3 days later, we're calling and talking to each other, and she got the green light from her manager. And she said, would you like me to make up the referral form for you so we could have everything written down? I said, yeah, that'd be great. And I said, I found a charity that took us under their wing, and they helped set up the police vetting portal so we could do all the police vetting of the volunteers.
This whole process.
Yeah. So here we are. I'm putting out this ad on Facebook thinking, oh, well, I'll probably find maybe 20 women kind of want to go around and support moms with babies and stuff. Put this ad out on Facebook.
Yes.
And in under 24 hours, I got 124 women contacting me.
Wow.
Can I have this support? Is this
Extraordinary.
support available in my area? How can I get involved? I mean, I was blown away. Now just isn't just at 124, but it's me trying to communicate with all these people, and they were all asking me the same question pretty much. And so I went quickly onto social media. I made up this group and sent them all the link and just had and so many of them came over into that because they had questions. They were curious. So obviously we weren't going to be in all areas of New Zealand if we were just doing it here in Toronto. But yeah, so from that, Mums4Mums was born, and at that time we took both the referrals from the hospital, and we took self referrals. That first year, I onboarded 77 volunteers, and we went out. I did the intake visits with 44 families, all through the varying levels of lockdowns because we kept, we did bubbles, right? We were very
Yes.
strategic in how we did it,
Because of
so
the
we
COVID.
stayed within the
Yes.
guidelines. But you just can't leave people hanging. They're really desperate. And so that first year, I held in my arms 44 babies and a few siblings. And that was the start of Mums4Mums. And after that, I thought, okay, this is growing. This is something that's really needed. I guess we better start a charity. And put the call out onto our Facebook page, and women put their names forward and said, yeah, I'll be a trustee to get it started. We got it started, and it's just grown from there. It's just been incredible.
Yeah, but it's extraordinary. Like first year, 70 volunteer and
Yes,
44 babies,
yes,
44
yes.
families. It's wow.
It's and and if you and others, I mean, that's children out there now that are between 4 and 5 years of age.
Yes, yes.
It's and I don't stay in touch with all of them, but the volunteers will come to me and they'll do you remember so and so's family? And I'm like, yes. Well, they still stay in touch with me and they're sending me pictures and they're bringing up their phones and they're showing me these pictures. And I remember them as these little babies and they're showing me these pictures now of these beautiful little
Before 5 year
toddlers,
old.
3, 4, and 5 years old. And I'm just like blown away. And
Yes.
so that was extraordinary. So, like you fast forward now, like February next year, we'll be celebrating 5 years. Mums for Mums 5
It's
years. We'll be
5 years.
up
Yes.
next year. We just finished our annual report again for this year, and we've helped over 400 families.
Just imagine, like, if Mums for Mom does not exist, then 400 moms
Yeah,
without support.
yeah. Deep end of the pool, not knowing how to cope and where to
Yes.
turn, and we
It's
made
not
that
easy.
difference. So, you know what? 10,000 or more than 10,000 hours of volunteer work, and I think the team stopped calculating my hours because I don't get paid, and,
Yes.
I do too many hours, like 50, 60 hours a week.
60 hours a week. Yeah.
So, but
I
just
can
counting the
I
volunteer
can count
hours.
for you.
Yeah, so just the volunteer hours. We know we've just with the volunteer hours over these last 4 years, done well over 10,000 hours volunteering in the community, supporting moms and babies. Yeah, for best possible outcomes. So for me, that's quite extraordinary,
It
because here
is.
I am getting emotional again, but it just shows how God can work because he's not just good at answering our prayers. He
Yes.
answers them over and above and abundantly of what we ask for. I mean, I asked for one baby. I asked,
Yeah, that's what I want to say you. So you have asked for one baby, and imagine how many babies you have now.
and then in that first year, I mean, I
Yes.
held in my arms 44 babies, and I mean that there's more to the story, and we're talking with a production company to see about doing a docudrama and getting the full story out because it's an extraordinary story.
Yeah, and need to show, like, people need to know about it.
I think, and yeah, and I think too, it's going to be a good part of New Zealand history, and definitely really good for Tauranga history because it's
Yes.
showing how when we're in the most divisive time as a nation, how
Yes.
this community rose up and they made sure people were supported. It's
Yes.
extraordinary to
It
see the
is.
kindness and generosity of people in this community. It's really wonderful to be a part of it. So that's just touching on the story of my journey to becoming a mom. And then, of course, how that's triggered Mums for Moms. And then from that cry of a woman who's wanting a baby to be able to come to New Zealand and then affect positive change into over 400 families. That's not something I could have done just on my own. That's definitely a God thing.
Yes.
And,
God had a plan for you.
definitely a Hannah moment, and, just really blessed to, be a part of this journey. Hasn't been easy,
No.
been struggles, but it's been the most worthwhile thing that I've done, and there's more to that story, obviously. There's way more. We've done way more than that now, but that's the beginning of it, and while I'm still on the podcast, I think what I'm gonna say to people is, never give up.
That's a
Just
powerful story.
you just keep praying. You keep believing that things can happen and you make yourself available to it. And you may think that you're going down on one path, but there's another path for you that can be even more wonderful. And definitely God's been a huge part of this journey with Stephen and I and Moms for Moms. And it doesn't Moms for Moms not a Christian organization. We've kept it neutral out of that. We don't get in
Yes.
We don't align with particular political parties. We don't align with faiths or anything because we keep it very neutral.
Yes.
You and I have our faith, and that's really
Yes.
cool. And we share that with each other. And that's awesome as women and mothers that we can do that.
Yeah, I would say because the Moms for Moms is like for like a mothers, like so many immigrants moms, right? So they're
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So Moms
people
for
ask
Moms.
us too, like they always ask, well, how do you stay culturally relevant?
Yes.
And I said to them, because 85 to 95% of what we do as mothers with newborn babies is the same in any cultural group. And whatever is different, we celebrate and we just be open to learning it and exploring something new. And so we've been able to stay culturally relevant in helping moms. Motherhood is universal. It's something that connects us as women and it's even bigger than culture. And it's an extraordinary journey. It's not one I wouldn't endorse doing things the way that I've done it. This is my journey. It was wrought with challenges. There was lots of tears along the way, lots of prayer, and lots of doubt. Like there's so much to the story, but at the end of the day, it's a beautiful story, and it's
It's a
really
beautiful.
something even wilder than I ever expected. So for me, the greatest gift is knowing that God heard my prayer and he answered it with more than I ever dreamed. Like I said, I wanted one day and instead he entrusted me with a son and then multiple blessings of hundreds of other little ones. It's faith in action. It's really, really good. And it's the
Yes.
power of saying yes. Because when I said yes, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea. No idea. But I'm glad I said yes. Because like I say sometimes to Stephen, I say sometimes you just have to say yes and then trust that you can figure it out. And so yeah, we figured it out.
Yeah. Stay faithful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's and then through this too, it's just been an honor to sit and have you do this first talk with me because we've done a lot of firsts over these years. You were the first mom. You helped me open up our first childcare center. Now we're doing the first podcast together.
Thank you.
So we're doing a lot of firsts together, a lot of ribbon cutting.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of first up thing. Even yesterday, I was reminding myself when we was sharing photos, the previous photos, and I said, "Wow, we're gonna have a first podcast," and like then we have a Tragete Mariki open the daycare, and I'm so glad that I'm a part of it. Like even my plan was like when Setaj Mehtaj, like my twin sons born, I was a motel manager and I never thought I'm going to be on this path because I always wanted to open a motel. That was my that was my aim of my life. Like me and my husband, he always like, okay, we're going to work and then we're going to open a motel and that's it. But I never know.
Yes, like we've learned so much about each other's culture.
Yes.
We've learned about each other's faiths. We know each other's hearts. It's been an extraordinary journey to go through this motherhood journey together and this building of a Mums4Mums organization. It's really connected us really well.
Yes.
And we've got this drive to keep things moving forward. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to say that I hope that you're encouraged by the conversation. And I hope you realize too that there's a lot of work still to be done in this area of maternal mental health. And if you've got the ability to help support Mums4Mums and the great Mahi that we're doing in our community and transforming lives and making differences, we really want to encourage you to check out our website at www.mums4mums.org. There is a donation button on there, and do find a way to help us keep going because it does take funds to keep the lights on. And the work that we're doing is making transformational changes, not just in the homes of these families, but within our communities. And we're all going to benefit by having families thrive and do well. So I'm going to look forward to our next talk because when you've got your story together, I look forward to, hearing all the
Yes.
background story.
Yeah. Yeah, I can prepare my story because this is going to be also long because I came from India through Singapore. I meet my husband, then I have my twin boys here. It's a real struggle and joyful and beautiful story. But yes, the next will be
Yes.
prepared.
Yes. So, it's Erahan Action is our slogan. It's love and action. Together we can lift each other up and together we can create community where every mother feels supported and loved. And we've done that. Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you.
That's what we've got to share for Mums4Mums and my story to motherhood. And my hope is to encourage somebody by listening to this. It doesn't really matter how you get from A to B in this journey of motherhood. We all have our own story to tell. But as we each speak and tell our story, hopefully what we're doing is we're encouraging others that are going through their struggles as well to hold on, remain faithful, be resilient. Yeah. Be open to the path that is before you, and you'll get there. Anyways, thank you so much for being a part of this first podcast for Mums4Mums. And we look forward to unfolding future talks with more guests and other topics related to motherhood, womanhood, and the power of language. So thank you, Sukhwant. You have a lovely evening. And
Thank you so
I'll
much,
see you
CJ.
soon, young lady. All right. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for joining me here on Conversations from the Pink Chair. If today's Kotaro stirred something in you, share it with a sister, send it to a friend, and make sure to follow this podcast so you never miss a moment. And if you're a mom doing the quiet, sacred work of raising the next generation, I see you. You matter. Until next time, stay strong, stay soft, and stay seated in your worth.